Sociologists of religion have been writing recently a lot about the fastest growing group in religious society. You might have heard this talked about from the pulpit before. The fastest growing group is the nuns, not N-U-N-S. They're actually decreasing in numbers, but N-O-N-E-S. These are people that when you ask them to check off on a survey what religion they are, and they check none. Nuns are the second largest religious group in North America. Rabbi Rick Jacobs, the president of the URJ, of the Union for Reform Judaism, writes, "Too often I hear Jewish leaders describing those who have no religious affiliation as people who don't know and don't care. I disagree. The 2012 Pew Forum on Religion survey called Nuns on the Rise, disproves this notion, finding that many of the nuns believe in God, seek spirituality, and pray regularly. They just do not relate to the world of organized religion. 70% of nuns reported that religious institutions are too focused on money and power and reflect worldviews alien to their own." Now, people who check off nuns, they check off nun, they skew young. And this phenomenon is not foreign to the Jewish world. Now, granted, on a survey, many young Jews will check Jewish because being Jewish is not only about religion. They might not check nun, but it also doesn't mean that they're flocking to synagogues. So in many ways, they are similar to nuns. Synagogue affiliation in the non-Orthodox world is trending down for young people. And we all seem to be searching for the proverbial millennial Jew. Now, because we don't coordinate about this, Rabbi Splansky has already talked about our Truma program, and I want to highlight that a little bit more. It's, as you've heard, from a lot of work from Tema here, this program has been very successful, maybe 65 new young families. We have other programs here to engage young adults who do not have a family yet. But what's special about our Truma program is that it lets each family determine a membership contribution that works for them. Our website calls it a gift from the heart. Truma, though, is about relationship between us and families. And this relationship involves giving. All relationships involve giving. We as a community give, and hopefully our young families are so too moved to give. So this word, truma, this gift of the heart, of course, comes from this week's Torah portion. So let's turn to the first verses, back page 545, because I want to offer a similar reading, a similar midrash to the one that Rabbi Splansky gave, but a little bit different. Again, it's focused on this giving versus taking. 545, back in the Torah commentary, in the Plaut commentary. Daber el bnei Yisrael v'yichuli, and to take for me. Now, sometimes in biblical Hebrew, the word for take and the word for give are a little fluid, but we're going to take it to mean take for me. So it says here in the translation, tell the Israeli people to bring me gifts. But our ancient rabbis in this midrash were reading it more literally. Tell the Israelites to take for me an offering. For all those hearts prompt to give, you shall take my offering. Right? At the end of the verse, Rabbi Splansky pointed out, tikhu et trumati, my truma. So what is God's offering? And through this verb, the taking, the kuf chet, Yud Kuf Chet is the root. the rabbis link it to another verse from the Bible. So everybody now, you have that verse in your Siddur, in your prayer book that we just sang beautifully. Turn to page 199 in your prayer book. And we're going to see how rabbinic midrash works. In the middle of the page, we just sang it. Ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al ta'azovu. You see that? Lekach. It's the same root as the word that we translated as taking. So, behold, I have given you a good doctrine, given, taken, or a great translation from Rabbi Avital Hochstein says, behold, I have given to you a takeaway, as we might say today. Right? I have given you a takeaway, and what is this takeaway? What does this verse say from Proverbs? The Torah. It's a relationship here we have with God in our verse back in the Torah portion. God gave us what? What is God's truma? Is the Torah. We're in relationship, so we're moved to give our gifts. Relationships are about giving and receiving. God gives Torah, we give gifts, we give offerings to God. But this is not, in our Torah portion, I don't think it's not about payment for services. It's about relationships. When one is in a real relationship, one wants to give. So let's say most families, a healthy family, the parents, our parents give us our lives, give us our protection. And so as a child, we yearn to give back. And hopefully as an adult, we continue to give back. Our lovers give, we strive to give back. God gave us everything, Jewish thought states. God gave us everything through creation. As Rabbi Splansky said, those things that we took from the Egyptians are really God's. So God gave us everything. So as the late 19th and early 20th century Rabbi Shimon Yehuda Shkop writes in his Sharei Yosher, God planted eternal life within us so that our greatest desire should be to do good to others, to individuals and the masses, now and in the future, in imitation of the Creator. God gave, we give. Some people have the opportunity to give more than others, and that's why in Jewish thought, being rich or poor is not a moral statement, it's morally neutral. Those who have more have greater opportunities to fulfill more mitzvahs with that, to give more, because God gave what you have. The view of Musar thinkers, of Jewish thinkers who talk about building up your personal virtues, building up personal ethics, including this Rabbi Shkop, is that we are individuals, but as individuals, we only have meaning, we only become individuals in relationship with others. As Shkop writes, the entire I, capital I, the ego of a coarse and lowly person is restricted only to his substance and body. Above him, a greater person is someone who feels that his I is a synthesis of his body and soul. And above him is someone who can include in his I all of his household and family. Someone who's more expansive, who lets others in, who gives. Someone who walks according to the way of the Torah, his I includes the whole Jewish people. Since in truth, every Jewish person is only like a limb of the body of the nation of Israel. And there are more levels in this of a person who is whole, who can connect, he should feel that all of the world and all of the worlds, he says, are his I. And he himself is only one small limb in all of creation. And then, the rabbi says, when you feel love for yourself, then all the love that you have for the Jewish people or all of creation expands from that. When you are in relationship, you expand, you give, and you receive, you let others in. Now, the holiday of Purim is coming up. And many people don't know this, but Purim is the traditional Jewish gift-giving holiday. But why do we give? Another late 19th, early 20th century Rabbi Eliyahu Dessler writes that you feel gratitude when you read the Purim story, Megillat Esther, because you recognize the miracle from God that the people were saved, and you feel gratitude from God. And then gratitude, he writes, is a form of giving, and giving leads to love. At the time of the first Purim, our rabbis tell us, Israel re-accepted the whole Torah. They felt so much love. They re-accepted the Torah in love. The more gratitude, the more joy, and the more joy, the more gratitude, the more giving. We need time to build up this tremendous experience, and so with every day of Adar, this month that we're in, that passes, with anticipation, our joy increases. And that's why we have the saying, Mishen nichnas Adar marbim b'simcha, when one enters Adar, that person's joy increases. Gratitude, giving, joy, relationship, it's all related. I was reading the New York Times, and in their editorial today, they talk about the Pope. This might be the only time I've ever talked about the Pope from the pulpit here. But the New York Times approves of the Pope, who just gave an interview, and the interviewer in an Italian magazine, and the interviewer asked him about giving to homeless people that you see on the street. Now, we don't need to get into a discussion, which is worth having, about what's better to give to an individual or give to an organization that helps individuals in a better way, maybe a more efficient way. But the Pope says, when you see an individual, just give them the money. And then the interviewer says, well, what if they use it for wine? And he said, well, if that's what makes that person happy, you have vices too. What do you use your money for? I'm paraphrasing. But what's he saying? The Pope says the way to do this, though, whether you give a little or a lot, or don't give it all, is just look at the person in the face. When we look at someone in the eyes, we see God reflected back at us. That's why we don't want to look at homeless people in the face. Because we know that when we look at them, we know we're obligated to give. We know we're in relationship with them. So the question is, back to Truma membership, how do we, as a Holy Blossom community, increase joy, increase gratitude, all of these things that will lead to relationships, that will lead to more trumot, more gifts of the heart. I think we as a community are doing a good job, but there's always more to do, to be open, to open our eye as individuals, to open this community as a place that allows others in, and that allows us to go out to others, to look people in the face, to realize that they are also created in the image of God, and that leads to joy and gratitude and giving, to our trumot, our gifts, and to God's truma, God's gift of Torah. Shabbat Shalom.